Hey, this is Cameron, and welcome to the practice log. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Alright, we got a lot of stuff to get into. Do we, though? No, we haven't really had much to get into with these practice logs as of recently. You know why? Because I'm in grad school, and it's winter break. Did you guys know I'm in grad school, by the way? So, I just got back from visiting my parents again. This is being filmed the same day you're watching it. This is like, we're just a couple hours behind each other right now. So you can do with that information whatever you wish. You know, practice, it hasn't been that great. I'd be willing to bet it's not that great for you right now either. But it's been nice. I've had a nice time. I'm looking forward to getting back into the grind, though, with the next semester. But I'm still putting in the hours, all that stuff. I'm still doing that. Which, in case this is your first practice log, let me actually go ahead and tell you what you're getting into here. This ain't a Rick Beato video. This ain't a Marson video. This is a practice log. We do 3 things in the practice log. First, we do some small talk. That's this right now. Hey, how's it going? It's pretty windy out right now. Don't use that to geolocate me. Second, I'm going to answer some comment questions. I think I have a couple screenshots lined up of some comment questions I want to get into. And then third, I'm going to play some stuff for you. Spoiler alert, I'm going to play the same thing I played the last 2 times, the fugue, but hopefully it'll be a little bit better. I have half of it, like, almost pretty much down. I've also been working in some ornaments and that, so, you know, you'll see that. So anyway, small talk. I've mentioned this a lot. Cardio's going well. I'm making good progress on that. Like, you know, that's what we're talking about now, I guess. You know, I've kind of always been into fitness, and since getting into grad school especially, I've just been so sedentary. So if you're not up to date with what I've been doing, I bought a treadmill. That's been great. I've been loving it. I started the semester at 176 at 5'9 3/4. The 3/4 matters. 3/4 if I'm wearing shoes, especially. And I weighed in today at 163, so that's pretty good progress for like a month or so. Actually, that's insane progress for like a month. But it's okay. I gained the weight fast. You can lose it fast. That's how it goes. I don't want to hear from any doctors right now. I've been watching a lot of movies while on that. I've been finding myself going through like a movie a day. I was working through the Fast and Furious movies, which I was kind of sleeping on, honestly. They're like kind of bad. I like them though. I also started Maze Runner too. These are all just treadmill movies. Like I'll watch like one a day just on the treadmill. I don't know about you guys, but I've always had my entertainment come from YouTube, which maybe I shouldn't be sharing this with you because you might be having your entertainment come from YouTube and from me. But man, it's hard to compete with a high budget film studio. Like even when I watch these million subscriber YouTube channels that are really well produced, it ain't nothing compared to Warner Brothers. Those are action-packed, high-octane movies. So I've been enjoying that. Sorry if you don't care about what I'm saying right now. Practice has been good. I've been doing like an hour a day. Like, ugh, it's not been that great. I feel the Preludes slipping a little bit, so I worked on that today. And I've been putting most of my effort into the fugue and then also just rest strokes, because, God, you lose rest strokes so fast if you don't practice them. I feel in a pretty good place with them right now. I can pretty comfortably play like 130 scales just continuously, like pretty loud, I think. Nice sound. I'd love to have a dependable, reliable 150 16th note rest stroke. I feel like much beyond that, you're just kind of showing off. You're not going to make better music just because you can play 170 or 180 than you could if you were just playing 150. So that's the goal. I just want to get really comfortable with that. I've said this before, but being able to shred on your instrument, I feel, is just freedom. Like, you need to be able to shred, and not just shred passages of your pieces, but just shred scales and arpeggios to just do stuff and to make random little noodles. That is freedom to me. And yeah, we'll talk more about that later. Is that enough small talk for you? I don't know. We kind of went off on some unrelated stuff there. So let's hopefully find some guitar related comment questions, and then I'm gonna play, and then we're all gonna go home. Oh, hey, how about this? Can you do an entire video about anecdotes and stories of your teaching? Would be fun. Whoa, 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 love the content. That one's from Waganet. Anecdotes about teaching guitar. So I must have mentioned something about that in the last video, but I've been a guitar teacher since like, I guess I started teaching guitar in like 2018 while I was getting my undergrad. I was teaching in a music store at that time. And then when I graduated, I pretty quickly moved on to just teaching online because I ended up moving states in pursuit of going to grad school, and I moved to that state so I could get in-state tuition. And then when I did that, after about 6 months or so, my online studio was like booming. It was doing really well. And then also the teacher I was going to study with retired, so I was like, like I'll just skip grad school for a while. And that's kind of been my journey for those 5 years between 2020 and 2025. Teaching, and then starting Sore Hands in 2023. 2023, I guess, October. Wow, so only 3 years teaching outside of school. I've like barely worked at all, haven't I? Dang. It sounds so small when you look back on it like that, but I taught a lot. I was teaching between like 40 and then at the max 80 students a week. So I was teaching my little booty off. I'll maybe write down some anecdotes like as I think of them, because there are a lot of them, because I had a lot of interesting times teaching. I guess I do remember one that's like coming to mind right now. This I think it was in 2022 or something like that. But I had this one student who I actually had for like multiple blocks a week. Like I think we did like an hour lesson and then a 30-minute lesson on another day, which I don't recommend anybody does, like especially kids. It's just too much. Like there's no way they can keep up with that kind of practice, and at that point it just kind of becomes babysitting, in which case you should just hire a babysitter if you want a babysitter. They'll charge a whole lot less. But yeah, I remember this one kid, he always gave me problems. He had like real big respect issues, and I think I've even told this story before, but in one of our lessons he made a point to tell me, he was like, you work for me, right? I'm like your boss. I could fire you. He was just that kind of kid, and I hated it, by the way. I hate being talked to like that, especially by a child. And I remember always dreading those lessons. A couple months go by, my girlfriend at the time and I were doing long distance. We broke up because, it just wasn't worth doing anymore. And that was hard for me, which, by the way, when you're breaking up with someone, even if you were the one breaking up, it's still freaking hard. Especially if nobody did anything wrong and it's just not making sense. We've grown apart. It's a painful thing to do that. But I did that and I was very unhappy and was having a hard time then. And I remember just doing our 30-minute lesson once during this time, and just before I was like, you better not say anything to me right now. Like I would I might cry in this lesson. I don't remember him saying anything like crazy, but after that lesson, just because it was so stressful for me, I emailed his mom and I was like, hey, this lesson time's not going to work anymore. We need to change it. Also, I have no lesson times available. So I just went through this rigmarole of her just sending me times, and then I'm like, nope, not going to work. Well, sorry. Find a new teacher. So that's an anecdote. That's kind of an interesting anecdote of me just giving up on a kid, I guess. But I don't know. I don't want to be a disciplinary guitar teacher. Ideally, I want the person to want to learn from me, and then I just talk to them and help them learn. I'm not some kid psychologist that can help them develop and stuff. I just want to teach guitar. So, I'm sure there are other guitar teachers that can handle that kid better than me. And also, before you say it, because you might think of me as a witty guy, keep in mind, I also edit my videos, so I take out all the parts that don't seem witty. But you might be thinking, what, you can't handle someone just giving you some, authority issues or just, lack of respect? You can't, put them in their place or, say something clever? I was teaching, 60 students a week then, and I was constantly exhausted, and I had nothing to give. If I was teaching only that one kid per week, then yeah, I could kind of amp myself up for it and be I'm gonna say this if he says that, say that if he says this. But I wasn't doing that at all. Yeah, I remember being really tired during that time. There's one anecdote for you. Does that count as an anecdote? I don't even really know. It's just a story of something that happened. It's not really related to anything, but you asked. I have plenty more. I would have to think of them though. I haven't thought about teaching in so long. Okay, this is an interesting music related question from Quad Damage 666, friend of the channel. I'm going to trust your opinion and start to look into theory, having explicitly gone out of my way to avoid it thus far. I'm thinking of starting with interval ear training and scales. Is that a good place to start? I am a DAW user mostly. If that makes a difference. I often use guitar or keyboard, experimenting with and finding chords and notes as an initial starting point, and I'm not sure whether that would affect my priorities and the usefulness of certain concepts and aspects of theory. Okay, honestly, I'm just gonna give it to you straight here, and I'm not gonna be some theory dictator for you. I'm gonna give you the easiest and greatest bang for your buck for what your musical goals are. Because right now, you're a DAW user. Whatever that means, I think that probably means you make maybe electronic, hip-hop music, maybe you make beats or something like that. And honestly, learning music theory for you, I don't know how useful that is, because you can always just download MIDI chord pack and get all the chord progressions you want, and you just use your ear and find what you like the best and just use that. Drums are pretty straightforward. You just kind of click stuff down and you can figure it out. It's all quantized and everything. I would imagine as a DAW user, somebody whose primary instrument is a DAW, which is weird to say, you probably want to get really familiar with effects and plugins and how to make certain timbres and sounds. Maybe you'd want to get used to using synthesizers and getting into concepts like additive synthesis and stuff like that. But when it comes to theory, I think something that would be really helpful for you on piano or guitar, if you're trying to make music like that, is pick a key. I recommend C major, and if you're on guitar, I recommend G major. And do get really familiar with the major scale and the relative minor of whatever key you're picking. And what you can do at first to get familiar with the scale is just play it over and over again, and just learn it and memorize it and ingrain it. Make it your favorite song that you know. That's the building blocks of everything that you're going to make in the DAW. Using that scale, or those scales, the major and relative minor, and all of the notes in between those scales that you're not using to play the scale. From there, I would get really comfortable with chord progressions, like every triad you can have in C major, root position, first inversion, second inversion, just get really comfortable with what they all feel like. And you can do this in a really systematic way, because it's just 1 chord, 2 chord, 3 chord, 4 chord, and so on. And then from there, learn what those notes that you aren't playing, we can call them like color tones or color notes right now. Learn what happens when you add those notes into the chords that you already have, or what happens when you replace a note with one of those color tones. Like, for example, the 2 chord, if we're in C major, which would be like D, F, A. F sharp is one of those notes that you're avoiding when you play a C major scale. What happens if you replace the F with an F sharp, and that makes a whole new chord with a whole new function in the key of C major. What I'm saying sounds like a lot of stuff, but it's basically just the fundamentals of chord progressions. There's only so many chords you can play in one key, and when music gets really interesting, it's when you're modulating between keys and you have all these same rules, but the tonic, like C major is your tonic in this case, is changing, and then you have these same chord progressions in different keys now. And if you look at it all written out in sheet music, it looks absolutely insane. But the beauty with being a DAW user is that you don't have to do that. You can just master C major, every chord possible in C major, all of your triads, all of your 7th chords, and all the extended harmonies off of them, all of the secondary dominants that you can play, all of the secondary, would you call them diminished chords? Secondary diminished chords? 7 diminished of 2, 7 diminished of 5, those, the applied diminished chords, I guess you can call them. Then, what you can do is write everything in C major, and then just slide that sucker around to any key that you want in your DAW, and it's already done. Now, of course, like, if I were being, like, completely responsible, I would tell you to, like, oh, well, go get a music degree and take music classes for 4 years and, like, learn everything fluently in every key. But is that really useful for someone who's making, like, hip-hop or techno music that's gonna be in one key? Like, there's no development section where you're gonna be modulating with the first theme of, like, a techno song. Like, that's not how it works. Like, you have, like, your basic chord progression, and there's gonna be color tones added in. And if you don't want to write everything in C major, write it in C major, and then just move it to another key, or, like, you know, move it to, like, F, and it's, like, lower and it sounds better for, like, techno or something. It'll be easier to understand stuff like that too, because if you were to import, like, someone else's music and it's in a different key, you can move it to your home key that you're comfortable with, and you'll kind of see, like, how everything works. So I want to reiterate, what I'm telling you right now is not the music advice that I think a lot of people will give you, because it's kind of a shortcut, but it's what's applicable to what it sounds like you want to do. And of course, once you do learn all that stuff in one key, it's just another step learning it in multiple keys. So that's what I would do. Hopefully that makes sense. Yeah, and hopefully that's not stupid advice that's gonna steer you wrong, but it sounds like you don't know any theory right now anyways, so I don't think learning some theory in one key is gonna hurt you. And it sounds like you were purposely avoiding it based on what you said. I'm glad that you are not doing that anymore, because that's not going to help you, you know? Now, I guess the next question is, where do you go to learn stuff like that? It's kind of hard to say, because you could get a textbook, like a music theory textbook, but I feel like that'd be kind of the equivalent of me getting a calculus textbook. I would just be lost, and I don't have the prerequisites to go into it. I do find that learning how to play the stuff on whatever your instrument is, that's a pretty effective way to just get the process going, where you can play it and then you understand it later. So just start with scales. Scales on the guitar or the piano, whatever instrument you play, and then just playing the triads, and just see if you can figure out what a root position versus first and second inversion triad is, and see if you can play them all in one key really fluently. And then from there, once you do start digging into deeper stuff, you'll kind of already know your way around at least one key, and it'll just help you. Yeah, that's what I got for you. Next one. Ooh, I got some more questions, but I think I'm going to answer them in the next one, because this has been long enough. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to play the fugue for you, just what I have. Like I said, I've been working on, like, some little embellishments and stuff, so that's kind of fun, but all of it should be at a higher quality than you last heard it. Also, it's winter break right now, and, you know, I feel like even with the minimal practice I've been doing, I'm still, like, holding on. I'm doing stuff. I'm not just sitting around doing nothing. Could I have made more progress on this? Yes, and I'm gonna work on it now, because I'm kind of situated now. I'm back home. Probably won't go back to my parents' house unless only for, like, a weekend or something like that. So I got a lot of time to just sit in my apartment and do my cardio and practice guitar, and that's all I gotta do. Alright, I'm gonna play something for you now. Oh man, alright. Alright, yeah, that was a crappy take. So, like, this part is really hard. I don't know how to get that fast. Yeah, okay, alright. Yeah, I don't know, that piece is hard. I haven't been working on it like I should have been, but I'm going to now, I promise. And, you know, that's a sore hands promise. Yeah, that's all good. Rodrigo, that one's coming along well, too. I'm gonna practice more now. I feel bad about how little I've practiced the last, like, 2 weeks. It's the holidays, that's my excuse. Alright, let's wrap this thing up. Of course, if you made it this far, be sure to subscribe and leave a like. And also, feel free to leave more comment questions if you want me to answer them. I think I have one for next time, but I'll get to that, you know, next time. Rutan's Delight, there's still a sale all the way until the end of December, so if you want to still pick up some merch, late Christmas gifts, it's all there, 15% off. I've gotten a lot of emails about lessons and wanting to be hooked up with the grad student who's offering lessons. I'm not offering guitar lessons, but I know people who are. If I haven't replied to you, I will eventually, and of course feel free to send me an email there. You can also just say hi, you know, the email's there, I'll see it. Yeah. Alright, well, I'll see you in the next one.